Welcome to The Explainer. We're going to do something a bit different today. We're diving deep into this amazing Hindi horror story, 3.33 AM, to figure out what makes a ghost story actually scary in our world of smartphones and apps. All right, let's get into it.
So let's kick things off with the story's final, chilling warning. This one line is just brilliant. It grabs something we all do, right? Booking a late-night cab on an app, and just injects this deep sense of unease into it. It's the perfect way to pull us in.
All right, so every good horror story starts with something totally normal. And this one's no different. We meet our main character, Nisha. She's a content moderator, she's had a crazy long shift, and all she wants to do is just get home. We've all been there, right? And that's exactly why what's about to happen hits so hard.
And here's the first little crack in that perfectly normal picture. It's just a number, 3. For the third night in a row, the app gives her the exact same driver, Mahesh Patil. Now, that's not impossible, right? But it's weird. And in a horror story, weird is where the scary stuff starts to grow.
Then the writer pulls out this great little trick, something I like to call unearned knowledge. The driver just knows her destination without her saying a word. It's such a small thing you could almost ignore it, but it's just enough to make Nisha and us go, that's it. The journey from, okay, this is fine, to, wait, something's not right, has officially started.
Okay, so that seed of doubt has been planted. And now the story really starts its slow burn. It starts cranking up the tension bit by making the world around our character feel like it's, coming apart at the seams.
And it starts with an absolute classic horror move, the wrong turn. Of course. The cab just veers off the main road and into this creepy, deserted industrial area. Nisha's logical brain immediately kicks in. Her question is totally reasonable, but you just know it's the first domino to fall in this whole chain reaction of dread that's about to cut her off from everything.
And then, this is where things get really weird. The story drops its first, supernatural clue. And it's not some jump scare monster. It's just a sound. The radio crackles to life with a news bulletin from 10 years ago. So yeah, this isn't just a wrong turn on a map anymore. Now we're talking about a wrong turn in time itself.
Up next, we get that total glitch in the Matrix moment. You know what I'm talking about? Nisha sees the exact same billboard, twice. Except the second time, it's changed. It's burnt. And that visual loop, that's the proof right there. Something is seriously broken with her reality. She's not just lost anymore. She's on a road that doesn't play by the rules.
So here's what's so brilliant about this. The story just strips away everything she relies on. Her GPS? Frozen. Her phone's network? Gone. Think about it. In our world, real horror isn't getting lost in the woods. It's getting lost with a dead phone, right? Her digital lifeline to everyone and everything is just cut.
And this is the real psychological twist. Right when she's totally cut off, she gets one last, brief call through from her friend, Sana. But what Sana says completely contradicts everything Nisha's experiencing. You never left, she says. Your cab was canceled. Wow, this isn't just about a ghost anymore. This is a full-on attack on her sanity.
So Nisha's sense of reality is just completely shattered at this point. And that's when the story kicks into its third act. No more mystery, no more ambiguity. The slow burn is over, and now it's a full-on raging fire, because the ghost starts talking. The driver, Mahesh, he doesn't do the whole scary monster thing. He just explains. And his story is pinned to this really specific, tragic timeline. The date, the time, the place, it all lines up with an accident that happened exactly 1 year ago. And that detail, it's so important. It changes him from just a scary ghost into this tragic person, trapped in a loop, reliving his last moments over and over.
And this is where the story gets so terrifyingly modern. The haunting isn't some ancient curse, it's a glitch, a supernatural bug in the code of the ride-sharing app. How brilliant is that? This idea of a literal ghost in the machine, it works so well because it feels just plausible enough to really, really freak you out.
And just to prove he's telling the truth, we get this amazing visual. They're driving up to a police checkpoint, a symbol of safety, of the real world, and as they get there, it just vanishes. Poof, gone. And that confirms everything. They are not in the real world anymore. They're literally driving through a memory.
But just when you think you know where this is going, typical trapped with a ghost story, the whole thing takes this really interesting turn. Nisha stops being a victim. She goes from being passive to being an active player in what's happening. So then the story throws this wild idea at us. Nisha looks in the rearview mirror and sees this thin, red line on her own neck, and it forces her to think about this absolutely horrifying possibility. What if? What if she isn't just some random person who got unlucky? What if she's part of this loop too?
And based on that terrifying realization, she comes up with a plan, a really desperate one. Instead of trying to jump out of the car, she tells the ghost to turn around, to go back to the spot where he died, this little temple on the highway. Her whole theory is, the only way to get out of this is to go right back to the beginning.
And that brings us to the absolutely genius ending. For a second, it looks like we're getting a nice, clean wrap-up. You know, the classic "it was all a dream" kind of thing. But then, the writer yanks the rug right out from under us, one final time.
So for a second, you feel this total sense of relief. Nisha wakes up on a bench. She's safe. She's back in the real world. Her phone is working, and the time is before all the creepy stuff even began. The writer lets us breathe out, lets us feel safe. And that moment of relief is so important because it makes the final punch so much more powerful. And then you see the first tiny crack in that feeling of safety. Her friend confirms her cab was canceled, which, okay, sounds like it was a dream. But then Nisha opens the app, and there he is, Mahesh Patil, online now. A ghost, still logged into the system.
And this next part is like the final drum roll, that perfect bit of suspense before we get the one piece of proof that shows without a doubt that none of this was a dream. And this is the real horror of the story. A photo, a piece of digital proof, time-stamped for 3:33 a.m., from when she was supposedly passed out on a bench. The ghost didn't just stay in the car. It followed her out, and it left a permanent digital footprint on her phone. So in the end, we're not left with an answer. We're left with this deeply, deeply unsettling question. And that, right there, is the sign of a fantastic ghost story. It doesn't just spook you for a little while. It leaves you with a question that just crawls under your skin and sticks with you long, long after you're done.